Hi, my name is Bruce Firestone. I'm the founder of the Ottawa Senators. I'm a real estate broker with Century 21 and I'm a real estate investment and business coach. And this is a preparation that I'm doing for a COVID-19 crisis plan forum that's been organized by Dave Dubo and a number of other people. You can see Dave's contact information here on the screen. This is a free webinar that will be giving on March 24th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And the subject matter is how to protect yourself, your business, as well as your clients, employees, suppliers, guests, residents, tenants in a time of COVID-19. There'll be about 20 experts on the webinar, each giving their opinion on how you can do that. And you can see there's a link now to register for free, covidcrisisplan.com/Bruce Firestone. Just to put this in perspective a little bit, I looked back at the Great Depression, which was mostly in the 1930s, started in 1929, and you could see that economic production, industrial production in the United States, Germany, and Canada fell by more than 40% over a 3 to 4 year period. That's a very substantial decrease in production. China is feeling incredible pain right now, not only, of course, health-wise for the people who are sick and the people who are recovering, and obviously the people who passed away, but their GDP has declined by 40%. And that's not over a 3 or 4 year period, that's over a period of about 3 months. The predictions by JP Morgan is that the US economy will shrink by 14%. It took China about 3 months to get on top of COVID-19, and I think Canada can expect similar results. It'll take us at least 3 months, and I do expect a 40% decline in GDP. So I'm a little bit more pessimistic than JP Morgan, at least as far as Canada is concerned. The severity of the Great Depression becomes clear when you look at America's next worst recession, which was the Great Recession of 2007, 2009, which is often called the Great Reset. And the nation's GDP declined just 4.3%. So nowhere near the 40% in industrial production lost in those 4 years. But if you think about that and put this now in perspective, a 40% decrease in GDP over 3 months is really significant. However, having said that, it's my view that Canada is up to the job. Parents and grandparents, our parents and grandparents coped with incredible adversity. The Great War, World War I, the Spanish flu, which killed at least 25 million people, the Great Depression, World War II, the Korean War, the Cold War. It was a really, really difficult time, and they achieved greatness, I think, in the face of tremendous odds. So what are some of the things we can do? This my part of this COVID-19 webinar is mainly focused on real estate because I do a lot of real estate coaching. And one of the things that I started experimenting with, I'm afraid to tell you how long ago it was, in the 1980s, was a tenant rescue package. And the tenant rescue package worked very well for both commercial and residential portfolios. And what we did in the past, and what we're certainly going to recommend today, is on a case-by-case basis, tenants can get a reduction in rent by half or more for 3 months, followed then by 6 to 9 months of catch-up by higher payments. This will probably result in a good reputation for the landlord, more loyal tenants, people who will stay longer with you, reducing your churn. And for landlords, for those of you who are landlords out there and listening to this, you know that one of the things that you really have to be careful about is make-ready costs and vacancies. So if people stay longer, that reduces those costs. Here's an example. Colonnade Bridgeport is a large investment and management property investment and management company in my neck of the woods. And one of my clients runs a very successful dental practice. She has zero cash flow. Her regulator has ordered all dentists across Ontario to close except for emergencies. And she went to Colonnade Bridgeport and they granted her a full rent deferral until the crisis passes. What I have been preaching for a long time, this is not new, is you want to make your clients more successful to make yourself more successful. So being mindful of what your tenants, residents, guests, employees, suppliers, what they need is really important. This picture on the right that you see here is one of my daughters, Jessica. She is a server. Her boyfriend's also a server. They have no income. And so one of the things that you will recommend to your tenants, whether they're residential or commercial, is look for some assistance. Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister Trudeau, announces different packages seemingly every day to assist people. This is something that Randy Irwin, who's an individual I coach, sent me. He said tenants can now pay their rent with credit cards and earn points, which obviously is that we understand. But this is different. It's called Get Digs, and it's a credit card company that will allow tenants to pay their rent to landlords, and they will send landlords e-transfer, so the landlord doesn't get hit with, say, a 3 or 3.5% card fee. I thought that was quite imaginative. And I was really surprised when I learned that Get Digs is a venture from RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. So even the big banks now are getting a little bit more innovative. And I think this might be something that could help some of our tenants. You want to balance your risks too as a landlord. If you're giving some of your tenants, commercial or residential, some rent reductions, you want to go and turn around and see if you can get some mortgage relief from your bank or your lender. The other thing you want to do is you want to stock up on cash. That's obvious. And there's some very simple things that people can do. If you own a house, you can go to a company like this. It's called Prompt Financial. I think they're based in Toronto. And they will do loans of up to $40,000 in 2 or 3 days at 8.99% with some fees. Another possibility that many of you have already done is to arrange for a home equity line of credit, or maybe a larger home equity line of credit, to tide you over these difficult times. This is a great time to use a mortgage broker. I like using mortgage brokers. I am not a mortgage broker, but I use them. I have 3 or 4 people that I go to on a regular basis. Your mortgage broker is really your chief financial officer. The other stuff I'm doing now is giving out stuff free. I mean, just, everybody who is not sick, they're home. Many of them are home for 2 weeks or longer. And maybe this is a good time to offer some free stuff. I like to write, so I could offer books, or I have lots of recorded webinars and tutorials. Maybe I could offer those as well. We have to keep selling. All of us have to keep trying to do our best to put food on the table for ourselves and our families. And Leon's is a well-known furniture store. They do this "don't pay a cent" event, so you can keep selling and offer your clients terms like buy now, pay later. I know it seems a little insensitive to talk about sales at this time, but I think it makes sense. This came through just recently on my email. This is a men's clothing store, and look at how clever and innovative they are. They're imposing a mandatory 30-minute cleaning session in our store between every client appointment, and you have to make an appointment so you can be safe. So human beings are very creative. They're endlessly creative. You have to use some creativity to make sure that you're doing your best to continue with your sales. Obviously, I don't have to tell you this, you have to preserve cash. If you're not going to pay your income taxes or your GST or your HST or other income source deductions, you better call the tax office. I think you'll get a fair hearing from them, but don't forget to call. Same thing if you're not going to pay a supplier, make sure you call them and explain what's going on. Um, this is a time where banks, not just the Bank of Canada, but the Federal Reserve and many other banks across the world will be cutting interest rates. So if you have debt that's on variable interest rates, that can really help. This is something else maybe I shouldn't be saying, but it is true that one of the fundamentals in real estate is you buy when everyone else is selling. It's contrarian investing. Not easy to do because everybody will tell you it's a bad idea, but I think that's something you want to keep in mind. As interest rates fall and as people leave the market, maybe this is a good time to buy. Maybe it's an historic time to buy. This is an example of a friend of mine who works for the Florida Panthers. That's a National Hockey League team in South Florida. And he bought 2 homes in the last financial crisis, 2009, 2010, both of them in foreclosure, both on the same street for $350,000 that just a couple of years before were selling at around $875,000 US dollars. And then by 2016, the market had recovered and he sold one for $850,000, kept the other one obviously now free and clear. So these are the kinds of opportunities that are out there now. What else will the future bring? Nobody really knows, and any predictions can be fraught with issues and problems, but people who followed my career know I like tech packages. I put them into all of the apartments that we rent, and obviously it's helping people who are at home, working at home, or just passing time at home with things like Netflix and Prime and other services. I also preach animation, that you should animate your real estate. And I've talked a lot about that elsewhere. And how do you do that? If you own a house, and you have a basement apartment or a side yard apartment, that adds a little bit of income for you. So it was always important, whether you're a young person trying to pay her mortgage or you're an elder trying to boost your retirement income, having a basement apartment, a side yard apartment, a coach house in your backyard, maybe a workshop somewhere, a micro suite, a home office, you name it. There are all kinds of things you can do to improve your income from your real estate property. Another thing that you might consider doing is allowing your tenants to augment their income. How would you do that? Well, if somebody has a two-bedroom apartment that they've rented from you, let them sublet the second room bedroom if they don't need it to somebody else, a roommate or whatever. We are in the gig economy, and I preach not only owning some real estate, but also owning a personal business for life, a PB4L. I don't know what that is. It could be a yoga studio that you run out of your garage. It could be a photography studio, a coaching practice, a craft store. I don't know, but I think a lot of people, maybe everybody at the end of the day, needs to have some kind of personal business for life. This is a term called fee hash, for every home a job. This is a term that was coined by Isabel Bradbury, an architect based in Quebec. And what she meant by that is just exactly what it sounds like. We should all have some kind of a gig at home. And what I did was I changed the order of those initials. So it's fee hash for every home a job, but it's also FIJA for every job a home. I think it works the other way as well. And here's an example of what I think might happen. I think we should get serious now about not building office towers that are just, full of workers for 8 or 10 hours a day and then empty the rest of the time. I think we should not be building anything that isn't mixed use, where you have for every job a home. In other words, an office building should have micro suites in it so that you could live and work in the same building. And if you want to talk about going green for real, right? That's an incredibly important part of it, because if you're not adding to the commute, you're also saving CO2, and you're, in addition to that, you are, obviously not spreading COVID-19. I think we're going to see a lot more grow local, backyard homesteading, a lot more focus on reducing waste, and a lot more focus on local energy production. Anyway, I tried to get through it in 10 minutes. I haven't done it, so I'll have to improve before I do this live for the main webinar on Tuesday. But if you need any help with real estate investment and business coaching, that's me, Bruce Firestone. Probably the best way to get a hold of me is by email, bruce.firestone@century21.ca. There is one other thing you can do. You can always go to my website, brucemfirestone.com, and there is a link there. You can see it there, where you can book a free clarity call with me if you think I can help, and I'd like to be able to do that. So thank you again for listening, and appreciate the time today.